Welcome to You're Allowed to Hate Your Husband, a modern day love story. I am Remy Stern. I'm a relationship coach, and we are going to talk all things relationships, from being single to dating to being engaged, married. Who you marry is the most important decision you will ever make.
If you're looking for a wife, which is a beautiful thing to do, the best thing to do is to choose wisely.
If you're thinking, what am I doing wrong? Everybody else has it right. Then you are in the right place, because trust me, nobody knows what they're doing. I'm so excited. Please hop right in, listen to this episode, listen to this series, and we are so excited that you are joining us here. Welcome back to You're Allowed to Hate Your Husband. Today's episode was the most informative, interesting thing in the entire world. We were joined by Marissa from MPM Nutrition. She tells you everything you need to know to live a healthy life, because when you feel healthy and know how to nourish your body through food, experiences, but like really know how to feel so good, you can live a better life. And that's what we're all here to do, is to feel good, to live an amazing life. And from this place of wholeness, fullness, and just like light and happiness and feeling good, feeling really good, you get to attract everything you want in your life. So Jonathan and I were like blown away. It's hard to know the right things to eat, how to eat it, all of that. So she just runs through all of the information. It is very, science-backed, science-based, and so informative. So please hop in, please enjoy, and I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. All right, we're so excited to have Marissa on today. We go way back, and she is absolutely brilliant. So everyone's going to learn, including us, quite a lot today.
I hope so.
Oh my God. It's like our new obsession, or really Jonathan's, is just living a healthy lifestyle and lifespan and all of this stuff.
Wealth span. Is it wealth span? Health span.
Health span.
Health span.
Well said.
With this wealth, we're talking health span.
There you go. Yeah. So we're going to be talking, all things, because it's different to show up and to be your best self. It's so important to feel good on the inside and the inside out. And Marissa is honestly like one of the best people I've ever heard on this. So we're so excited. Marissa, can you just tell us about yourself and introduce kind of what you do, how you ended up here, all the good stuff?
Yes, I will try to give you the short version so we're not here all day. But first of all, thank you for having me. Like Remy said, my name's Marissa Meshlam. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I'm the founder of MPM Nutrition. So if I go way back, I got into all of this because I was always curious. Like my mom will say, as a kid, I was like that annoying kid that was always like, why mom? Why mom? I like really wanted to understand things. And I think that like led me in school to like loving science, right? You learn, okay, when you jump, why do you fall down? Like gravity. Like I thought that was so fascinating. So I remember getting to school, like college, and looking at like, what am I going to do? And I always thought, oh, you like science, you go to med school. And I remember looking at the path and just being like, I connect with science, but I don't connect with medicine. So I ended up pivoting and majored in psychology to start, because I really wanted to understand like why people do things, what motivates them. And I, within like 2 months of being at school, I learned about dietetics, and I'd never heard of this. And there was a girl in my sorority who's like, oh, I'm a dietetics major. I was like, what does that even mean? And she's like, basically, I'm going to be a nutritionist. And I remember calling my mom and being like, oh my God, this is a job? Like that's a profession? Like I'd always personally loved food. I had like my own background of disordered eating, which like morphed into really like loving health and understanding things. And I changed my major the next day with very little understanding of what it meant to be a dietitian. And I really never looked back. So I then moved to New York, did grad school at NYU. I got my first job here at Mount Sinai. And when I was working at Mount Sinai, I was working inpatient. So I was working with people who were admitted to the hospital sick or for a psychiatric reason. And the more and more I worked with people in the hospital, the more I realized, like, one, everyone was confused about food. No one understood things. You would hear one thing from your sister-in-law, and then your doctor would say something else. And everyone just like didn't really know where to turn to for nutrition advice. And that almost led to like paralysis. Like no one was making a change because of that. And the second thing I realized is like everyone had this relationship with food in their body, like way more than what you can see. So it's not just about what you're eating, but it's like, why are you eating? How are you eating? How do you think about yourself? How do you talk to yourself? All of this kind of affecting their nutrition. So that really kind of like lit this thing inside of me to be like, I want to actually sit down with people and help them make changes and understand their psychology and work with their bodies. So that kind of led me out of the hospital into the one-on-one work in which I do today. I now run my practice full time. It's me and another dietitian. We do one-on-one counseling with people. I also do corporate wellness, which is how I met Remy initially. She was at my first talk, I think, that I gave ever at WeWork.
You sounded very confident.
Fake it till you make it was a lot of this.
Of that.
Yeah. And then I do a lot of like media and brand promotion as well today.
That is so cool. And I'm obsessed with everything you said. And something you actually told me, because I've learned already so much from you, was that, you know, your diet, and like a lot of people will say like, oh, I want to be at this weight, right? They're like, I want to be at this weight. But you say, and I came to you and you helped me post-wedding, which now you're engaged, and we'll talk about that. But post-wedding, where I just done this quote unquote wedding diet, mine was a very short-lived one because we planned our wedding within a month. And but I was strict for 1 month. I said, I've got 1 month. I'm not going to go to restaurants. So I didn't go to one restaurant in 1 month.
I don't think you told me this.
Yeah, I didn't go to one. I had I didn't eat breakfast at the time.
You were very disciplined.
I was very disciplined.
Wait, but also 1 month you planned a wedding?
Yeah. Yeah, COVID.
That's wild.
Yeah. We've actually probably never talked about
We were
that.
planning. It was all in good fun. And the wedding planner said, because of the rules and limitations, you're either getting married in a month where you want or in another 12 months.
Because it was warm weather.
The weather
it had to
was
be
changing.
outside.
Where did you guys get married?
In Colorado and Aspen, where my family is.
Okay.
And
So,
yes, they said
October 1st was pretty much last month.
We had one
date.
date.
Be too cold
to
be outside.
We had one date.
That is crazy.
So I was like, let's do this thing. It worked out great because I was a guest in my own wedding. Like I didn't have time or energy to choose anything.
So
I was
trusted.
like, here's an idea, go for it. I'll meet you there. I'll see you. And also it worked for like the quote unquote wedding diet and stuff. So my lifestyle for 1 month was not one restaurant with a friend, was no breakfast, because for a long time I thought breakfast was not good for people. So I would have coffee, empty stomach, small salad, and whatever it was. It was not good. And then it's this mental shift.
It was restrictive.
Very restrictive. Yeah. And whatever, it worked for its purpose, but it's not a way of life. And you said to me, you were like, listen, what's your happy weight? I'm pretty sure you said it along the lines of this. And a happy weight or your dream weight should include lifestyle. Remy, do you like going to restaurants with friends? Obviously, that's my favorite activity. How long are my meals?
2 to 5 hours.
At a restaurant, he's like, can I leave? No.
If I'm sitting at a table for 2 to 5 hours, like I'm gaining 28 pounds. I can't sit and talk while nibbling on a cracker for an hour and a half. I'm going to want to eat more. Even when I'm mentally done with my meal, I see more food and I say, oh, well, let me get that.
We should note he's currently hungry.
I'm starving. I had a very light lunch.
I did offer a snack.
It was a 3-course meal. And I'm already starving.
Oh my God, no, he said, Sam,
We'll
he goes,
talk.
guys, I haven't eaten all day. I'm starving. She goes, you haven't eaten all day? That's a problem. We got to talk about that. He's like, well, I just came from a 3-course meal. Like,
2 course,
actually,
you
you're
said.
the expert. I feel very light.
Yeah.
I feel great. I feel phenomenal. I had a salad, some veggies,
Okay.
and then I had a tuna avocado.
That sounds great.
It was
But
amazing.
Why are you not full?
I'm
is the
already
question.
I'm ready for dinner.
Something was missing.
It's
what do you think was missing from that?
When did
3:30. I'm ready for
What
dinner.
time did you eat lunch at?
12:30 start.
Did you eat earlier
I
in the
ate
day?
2 hours ago.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
what'd
that's
you have?
actually not crazy. So I would say most people need food every 3 to 4-ish hours, but like maybe today's just a day you're hungrier, right?
What about breakfast? What'd you have for breakfast?
Banana.
Banana.
Oh, there you go. There's your answer.
He needs
What
You
if I
can't
answer?
just eat a banana for breakfast.
Why not?
Because if you just eat a banana for breakfast, your blood sugar is going to spike and then drop, and then you have no kind of control over it the rest of the day. If you pair that banana with something like Greek yogurt that has fat and protein in it, all of a sudden you're not spiking and dropping, and you're getting like a slower kind of energy release. There's so much research showing that what you eat for breakfast sets your blood sugar up for the rest of the day. Your blood sugar is dropping right now, and it's
I feel good though. I will say.
No, you
I don't
don't.
mind.
You're
I don't
hungry.
mind the up and down.
okay. So
by the
he's
way, he
used
just-
to.
It's an up and down, but I'm on a good roller coaster.
Okay.
I'm feeling great.
Trust me, add something to that banana, your life will change.
He said he
What
was going to
else other
faint.
than Greek yogurt?
I don't know. You want a couple of
Oatmeal.
eggs? You
Oatmeal.
could. Sure,
Couple
but
of
what would I
eggs.
tell you with oatmeal?
I think you said put like a almond
What-
butter
I
or
gotta learn how to
You
something.
cook.
need like fat and
Fat.
protein.
Almond
in there,
butter.
right?
Wait, okay.
So
Can you go into
Yeah.
this? Because
It's
part of
really a mistake to have a little juice and a banana for breakfast.
it's not going to give you the kind of sustained energy you want. It makes sense that you're getting hungrier quicker later in the
also
day.
But I've had good energy. So I agree with you. You're
Mhm.
the
but
expert.
now
Yeah.
you said
But-
you're about to faint. So you're going against. You were like, guys,
Yes.
I'm about to faint.
Yes.
That's
So
not
don't
good
you want good
energy.
energy, not just for like a couple of hours, but like for your day?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I half fainted. Sorry.
Well, I actually think this is a
I
great
blacked
point.
out for a minute. I'm starving here. Honey, I need a slice of pizza.
This is a problem. This is what she's saying. She's saying when you restrict yourself, when you only have a banana for breakfast with no substance to it, I think that's the word you use there, then you have this light meal that seems like it went well, but your blood sugar is going like this. Then you get a pizza because you're starving, and that's not good. And a lot of people do this.
Yeah, this is like a chronic problem,
Yes,
I would say.
this is literally what she told me. And I
Yeah.
wasn't eating breakfast. At the time, I was, again, like not living the lifestyle I wanted to live, but you said first and foremost breakfast. So can you go please into this? Because clearly we've got a fabulous client for you.
Well,
here.
I think also let's go into like what you were talking about, really what we worked through, right? You came to me at this point, like after you had done this like month-long restriction, let's call it. And maybe you had this like history of going through phases where you would restrict yourself and then you wouldn't, right? And it was kind of like an on and off game. And I challenged you to really think about like, what if it wasn't on or off? Like, what if you didn't have to prep for your wedding because you just felt so good about where you are in the first place, right? What if you didn't have to think about, oh, I'm going to Greece next month and I need to be in a bikini? Like, what if life, you were just living in a way that you felt really good so you didn't have to do those things, right?
yeah.
I
So-
think that's a very good idea. You should walk around in bikini every month of the year.
So you just
So,
always feel
so you're
good.
so
always
you'll
ready.
never on and off. You're always Greek islands on.
mentally you're living in a bathing suit, which means like when you're in Greece, you're happy. Like you're in a world
Well-
you feel, yes, but okay, so tell me.
Well, that's a whole other part of nourishment too, which is what we worked on together, right? A lot of times people like only think about nourishment as physical, right? Like what's the protein, what's the fat, what's the calories, what's the carbs? That's physical nourishment. But you also get nourished in so many other ways, right? Like you get nourished from social interaction. You get nourished from environmental. You were telling me about a pretty like beautiful pink room restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Like that's environmental nourishment. You get nourished in a cultural way, right? I'm Persian. There's so many like foods I'll go home and eat. Yeah.
You're Persian?
I'm half my mom.
So is he.
Oh, my
half.
mother's Persian too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We love
Okay.
Persian food.
Same,
We
right?
love-
But that's something I don't make for myself. So like going home, like
Yes.
having that eating experience, it's not maybe about just how like physically nourishing the food is, but it's about like how culturally nourishing is this? Like how
Sure.
is it filling
Makes me
up?
happy. Friday night meal
Yeah.
makes me happy.
Best
And it's like
thing in the
filling up
world.
your cup in all of those ways. And one thing I really worked on with you too was like acknowledging that that's filling up your cup. So not needing to stuff yourself with the food because you're taking in all of
Smart.
what
oh
is
my God,
going
can I
on.
give two more
So you
things?
don't need three
Yes.
bowls. You just have one beautiful bowl. You're satisfied. You
Well,
stay
yeah.
skinny and happy.
Well, it's about thinking about like in that moment, right? Like how much do I actually need? A lot of my philosophy is about mindful eating, which means like being aware of your eating experience, being present, tasting the food, recognizing your environment. Like think about the way a lot of us eat, right? You take that banana as you run to the subway and then you eat your lunch, like typing up an email, and then people come home and they're tired and they eat dinner in front of the TV. No one's paying attention anymore. So we're all overeating for the most part because we're distracted. There's an awesome study that showed just scrolling through your smartphone while eating a meal leads to like 15% more calories intake. If you're doing that at 3 meals a day, 7 meals a week, or 7 days a week, we are just not paying attention to our food anymore.
But if I talk while I eat, I bite my tongue sometimes.
No, by the
Well,
way,
so take a break.
I heard when you're talking, when you're eating, you first of all you elongate the meal, so you can kind of it's I've heard chewing's good. Also, like a lot of the and by the way, who am I to say anything? I'm not the expert here, but even like oxygen and breath is good for digestion. So if you're talking, like I heard in a lot of different cultures, like maybe in Greece, like all these places with longevity, their meals actually are very long.
They are.
And they sit and they talk and they like enjoy the food, they enjoy the experience,
Mhm.
and they eat less because of it. Listen, if you sit at the table and you just continue eating till you're so full, you do the right thing. You get up. I feel
Why
like
are you looking at me?
Well,
Do you do that?
To be fair, he did say that it's a hard to have a 3 hour meal.
Jonathan is the funniest
But
person.
what you're saying is true. Like in Greece, right? All these blue zones that we're talking about in these like cultures in Italy, like the way they eat a meal, right? I always say Italy's a great culture to look at. they're eating pasta for most meals, which we deem in the US as like the devil and causing all of these issues. But it's the way in which they're eating it than us that is so different. They are like savoring each bite of pasta. They are taking a 2-hour lunch break and like relaxing.
Their ingredients are healthier.
1,000%.
They walk to the restaurant and walk back.
There's so many systemic things that you're describing that are different. But one big thing that we could do.
Portions are smaller. Go to TGI Fridays and order pasta. You can't even fit it in a carry-on. 7 servings, right? But they have smaller portions there.
But we only can do with what we're given in the US, right? So we can't change. That's above my pay grade at the moment to change the system. There's a lot we could do. But we're not there yet. So what we can do is we can learn from these other cultures and take with it, right? Like, yeah, we live in New York. You can walk to and from the restaurant. That's going to help your blood sugar control. You can, notice that you're at TGI Fridays and they're giving you like a monster portion. If you're not paying attention to that meal, if you're scrolling through TikTok while eating that, you're going to eat more.
Right.
But if you make it an effort to be like, I am here, I am enjoying the food. I know you're huge on gratitude, right? Like being grateful for the meal that's given to you. You're going to get full quicker.
For sure.
It sounds right. I also read a study that if you watch basketball while you eat dinner at the table, then you eat 10% less.
Interesting. Interesting.
You should try that.
ESPN on
I just read that
research.
research. I just read that study. It hasn't been published yet.
Think we're going to need a fact checker?
Let's give it a test for a year.
Yeah, please. Pretty please. So question. We're talking about pasta.
Yes.
And you say it's deemed as bad.
Yeah.
Now it gets me thinking. There's all of these diets, right? What I'm so mind boggled by, everybody was plant-based. And now the entire internet, they're carnivores and I'm so confused what switched there. So at a certain point, I was like, a very well-sourced pasta with some veggies and stuff like this. Fun fact, I have a great story about side salads. My side salad idea came from her.
It's not that story, right?
No, I'm not going to tell the story, but side salads from her. But is pasta good or bad? I know foods aren't good or bad, but like, do you fill up on pasta? Do you fill up on protein and carb and meat? Do you fill up on, are you plant-based? Like, wow, it's so confusing.
I think that this day and age is the most confusing that it's ever been about food because people are so concerned with our health, right? Like as people are gaining more and more weight and we're getting less and less healthy as a country, people are concerned about it. And then in the second fold, everyone's an expert. Everyone who has social media thinks they're an expert. Every influencer under the sun.
A lot of experts out there.
And I always say, not to be mean, but just because you eat doesn't mean you should tell anyone else what to eat. I went to a lot of school to do this. Like I understand a lot of biochemistry. I know what happens in your body when you take in the food. And nothing makes me more angry than when I have someone come into me and be like, oh, my favorite influencer was taking X and I've been doing that. And I really don't feel great now. So I think that's where the confusion comes from. So first understand that, right? Like we're all concerned, which is great. Like, that we want to take care of our health. But also we need to be really mindful of who are you getting advice from? There is not one right diet for every single person on this planet. I do not tell every client the same thing. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different lifestyle. Everyone has different preferences. Part of the benefit of working with someone one-on-one like me is that I get to hear you, right? I get to see what are you doing and how can we make small changes that actually you're going to stick to, right? If I started like suggesting that you eat bacon every day for breakfast, let's say, you would never, like that just wouldn't be the case. It wouldn't work.
But some people are really pushing that on social media.
Well, so to answer your question on like, how do you like deal with all the noise?
You're very wise.
Thank you.
He doesn't say compliments like that usually, so that means a lot.
But you got the check mark. I hardly ever give out that check mark. You cannot buy that check mark.
Not like Instagram.
I appreciate that. But I think you start recognizing where your information's coming from and clear out the noise. I do unfollows with clients on social media all the time. If someone's content is stressing you out versus empowering you, it's an unfollow, right? We need to our time is the most precious thing we have. And you have to really think about what you want to inundate yourself with. And if you're following someone who's fear mongering you around health and making you feel really bad, that's probably not the person you should be getting your advice from.
Before we get to the empowering part, which I believe.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay. You got me. You got me hooked. I'm not exactly stressed out, but you do watch these videos, which confirm a lot of your suspicions, which are they walk through the aisles between the potato chips, the canned pasta sauce, literally everything that they're selling, 95% of these supermarkets are selling junk,
Yeah.
poison, and crap. And our politicians allow it, which is okay. It is what it is. It's a bigger conversation to be had.
Much
but
larger.
do you agree with that 95% of what we can buy in the supermarket is junk? Or do you kind of have a different take on it?
So I think context matters. So I did my first training, like my first work as a dietitian was at the Bronx VA hospital. So I worked with an entirely different population than I work with today, right? So you have to take everything with a grain of salt.
Okay.
When I was working with those clients that had more limited budgets or had to get their food off food stamps, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to make someone feel bad about like the canola oil in something when that's what they can afford and that's what they can buy. And there's still other ways to introduce healthy eating into their diet, right? I think if you can afford more things and you have more access, knowledge is power, but knowledge can also be obsession. I think like, a lot of the fear mongering that goes on the internet that tells you that everything is junk, those are like people that don't actually have a degree in nutrition and are like not really following research. There is a lot of junk and you have to know how to like weed through it, right? You have to follow trusted sources. I actually have a new series on my Instagram where I am walking through the supermarket. I have a fabulous intern now, Marissa, love you. She records me and edits them and we go through and I teach you how to read the label, right?
I need that.
Okay, well, I'll send them to you. But like you want to learn how to like
you have a lot to learn from me.
Well,
I'm a rookie.
Also, think about like what I taught you, right? It wasn't just like here is a brand I like and this is what you should buy. It's also like, okay, Remy tomato sauce is something that like they could really easily pump the sugar with. And
Sure.
Rayos?
Rayos is fantastic.
It's
Love.
good.
It is good.
Sometimes it like
that's
sits
good to
weird.
hear.
Like I like making my
Well,
own
I also
tomato.
think like sometimes acidic things can sit a little bit.
So we'll
differently.
get to the billionaires in a minute.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the Bronx?
Yeah.
My boys in the Bronx, from Boogie Down Bronx. So I had McDonald's.
Mhm.
I don't have it often, but I've had McDonald's and it makes me feel horrible.
Mm.
Like
I've
I'd rather
never had
eat
it.
dirt and I'd feel better eating dirt than McDonald's. Do you agree with that? Or do you actually think that, the cheeseburgers or the chicken and the French fries and the Coca-Colas
So
good for some people?
no, I don't think it's like ever like I believe in calling a spade, right? Like
Okay.
McDonald's for the most part is not a health food. What's really unfortunate in our country is that McDonald's is a lot cheaper than a lot of the healthy food that people can buy.
It's tasty too.
Right. And it's a lot of, think about it like this. If you only have X amount to feed your family, McDonald's, you're getting a lot more calories for a lot less money.
Full 3-course meal.
Right. For the five
Under
of you.
$10.
Right. Like, so no, I don't think McDonald's is a health food. I also believe in like not being so yes or no. So we talk about this, right? I'm not about calling things good foods and bad foods because what that does is it like, I work a lot with eating disorders and that like adds this moral component of food. And then there's this guilt component for if you do want to eat something that's maybe not the most nutritious. And that kind of creates people in this like restrict, overdo it cycle. Instead, I like to be like, okay, broccoli and a donut, they're different things. You get different nutrients from them. You're not a better person from eating one versus the other. But if you are a mindful eater, which you actually are based on what you just said,
Thank you.
when you eat McDonald's, you check in with how you feel.
I'm a very mindful eater, yes.
Right. And you feel like crap when you eat it though. So that's,
Yeah, true.
so that if we could use our own biofeedback, I always say you don't have to force yourself into healthy foods. You just have to try them, pay attention to how you feel. If you guys have been on vacation, say you're in Mexico for a week, you eat all the chips and guac, it's delicious, it's fun, but you come home and you're like, all I need is a raw salad. Like my body is like craving vegetables. That's like your inner wisdom. Like your body wants those foods. So it's all about learning to work with yourself versus against yourself.
I love that. So can we go back to Jonathan's breakfast?
Yes.
Because I find breakfast
Educate
so interesting. Because again, I think a lot of people are told intermittent fast, and you said if you're going to intermittent fast, great, but probably do it the other way. Start eating early, end early.
Eat with the sun, stop with the moon.
Breakfast is I think the toughest meal.
So can you tell us first of all why breakfast actually is good? Prove everybody wrong,
Yeah.
and then what a good breakfast looks like. Like that Dunkin' Donuts donut obviously isn't good. We all know fruits, vegetables, probably protein, any type of protein you eat. Like we know that that's good. We all know, but it's also confusing when they're like eat so much protein or eat so like this.
Yeah.
But let's start from basics. Breakfast. Why is it important? And what does it have to look like? And why does it have to look like that?
So let's start with the first part, the intermittent fasting, like where that gained popularity. It's important to understand that a lot of the research done on intermittent fasting is done on men. It is not done on women who are still getting their period. And a lot of what we know is that women who are still getting their period, who are like still able to, reproduce and have a child, actually need food on a more consistent basis. There's a lot of like research now that's suggesting if you do fast for too long for women, that can lead to like infertility and a lot of issues there. So research a lot of times with nutrition, you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Eat up, ladies.
John is gonna feed
No
me like so
fasting for
much.
you.
He's gonna like food.
We can talk about fertility nutrition next. Second thing, like why breakfast, right? For a lot of
Honey, do you want a
busy.
snack? I can get you a snack right now.
You both need something.
No, I'm very full. I had a great lunch.
She knows. So why breakfast, right? A lot of people, especially busy New Yorker clients of mine, skip breakfast. You're busy, you pick up a coffee on your way to work, you power through to lunch. What happens in that scenario? You get to lunch and you are starving. Your blood sugar is so low, you are like, I need anything. You're less likely to make a nutritious choice at lunch had you have not had something that fills you earlier on in the day.
Like
right?
Jonathan wanting pizza right now. Like, I don't want pizza.
I'm ready to order the pizza.
Because you're satisfied.
I have zero interest in pizza. Don't give it to me. Sometimes I do, but I'm
No,
satisfied.
it's true.
Right.
If you have 10 minutes because you're starving
Mhm.
to eat or to order food, you're just going to go to the quickest, easiest
Right.
choice.
Right.
If you're not starving, you'll think, what is a nice, healthy, tasty meal? And I don't mind waiting 45 minutes. Okay. And then you make a better choice.
Exactly. Also, breakfast starts your wellness inertia. Remember inertia, like an object in motion remains in motion. Breakfast is an opportunity to like take care of yourself, right? So if you wake up in the morning, it's almost like if you work out first thing in the morning, you don't want that donut after the workout. You want to eat something that's going to keep you
True.
feeling good,
That was me
right?
today.
Okay, so breakfast is also that thing. It's such a powerful tool. Plus, there's so much research now looking at, you said like, why protein? Like, what's that? There's a lot of research looking at people who eat enough protein in the morning. And we're talking about like 20, almost 30-ish grams is some of this research, what it's looking at, which is quite a bit.
You're going to have to
of
tell us
protein.
what that looks like after.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of protein. People who eat that in the morning tend to have better blood sugar control later in the day, tend to have more muscle mass, less body fat. Like, it is really doing wonders for our hunger levels later in the day. So I almost think about breakfast as like how you're setting up your day.
Protein for breakfast.
Protein,
what's 20
fat,
For
a little
all
bit
the
of
dumbos
fiber.
out there,
Tell
including
us.
me. What's protein? I mean, chicken. I'm going to have chicken
You could
for
eat,
breakfast.
you want to
Fish?
eat like a little bit of chicken breast, you're going to hit your protein right away, which is 4 ounces.
Let's just say I'm not a chicken guy at 8 a.m.
So let's give you some like examples. Okay. A cup of Greek yogurt, like one of those like
Yogurt is protein?
Greek yogurt is
Greek.
protein. Yeah. So
Okay.
a cup of Greek yogurt would get you close to that. Cottage cheese is a fantastic source. So dairy can be a
Okay.
good source if you
Honey,
like that.
Write that down.
If
We
you're
have all of
doing, she knows.
we
She's
have
done
all
this.
of it right in the fridge.
How many
eggs-
fridges do we have?
I'll show you.
Eggs are a great example of something where like people think they're doing well, but then they're still falling short. Like 2 eggs is only really 12 grams of protein. It's not always enough on its own, right? If you put that on like an Ezekiel English muffin, you're adding 8 grams there, right? So we want to layer in
Ezekiel,
things.
good.
What type of
Ezekiel's
eggs? Does
great.
it matter if it's sunny side up, if it's fried, scrambled, if it's
I mean, if
those
you're frying it
3-minute
in
eggs
like, a ton of like butter, maybe it's not the best choice, but
Uh-huh.
But I love
however you
butter.
enjoy it. Yeah, we love butter
Really?
too, but you don't
Okay.
need that much butter.
So
Egg
going,
white or egg yolk or both?
The yolk is like nature's multivitamin. There's
Huh.
so much
I
in there.
love the yolk.
I knew those egg white
egg
chickens
whites never-
were lying.
So, like, for example, my father-in-law, who I respect and love so much, and he is whole food plant-based, and it works fabulous for him. He's in his, I won't say his age, but he's never looked better at his age.
70s. He looks great.
Okay, so
Early
he looks
70s.
great. He looks great. He works out for hours a day. Like, he's crushing it.
He's on the tennis court 3-4 hours at a
That's
time.
So
Amazing.
he's gonna say that eggs. He's plant-based.
Yeah.
Eggs are bad. Yogurt's bad. And what else did we say? He's gonna say that's bad. He
if you're
loves
going to bring him up,
oatmeal.
he's got to have an option, a chance to defend
I
himself.
Well,
know,
let's talk
I know.
about it. Let's
So-
answer
so-
a few of those things.
So
right?
he's gonna say oatmeal, berries, but even like those might, a few berries, but he loves oatmeal and like Ezekiel bread.
So I actually
And-
think oatmeal is a breakfast that you can do really right or do really wrong. If you just eat plain oats on their own, it's just having a carbohydrate source on its own. It's kind of like eating that banana you just had for breakfast. Although it's a healthy whole food source, food is meant to be eaten synergistically. This is why like food combining people, like don't even get me started. Like
Really?
like your body is not a conveyor belt. Like we are able to digest multiple things at one time. Like we were meant to do that. And I don't yuck anyone's yum. Like if something works for you, I support that, right? But like the science will tell you just those oats solo is not going to fuel you for the day. Now, if you start with oats and you mix in chia seeds, which is adding omega-3s, really healthy fats, and a bunch more fiber in there, which is going to keep you full.
Fruit, honey.
I love fruit. Berries are fantastic. Berries are so rich in antioxidants, also really like the highest fiber source of any fruit. Honey's great, but like it's still a sugar. So just, sparingly would be my suggestion.
Puts an entire bottle.
Sparingly.
Mm.
He puts it in.
5 teaspoons is what I do.
No, that's
Okay.
Okay, so where's the fat? So it's from chia seeds?
Like chia seeds. And then I would
Is
layer
there
in
any protein involved?
I usually encourage people to layer in protein. Like that's actually a great place to put, if you're plant-based, like a plant-based protein powder, like something that's made out of pea protein
powder.
mixes in so well to oats, and it's then fueling you for longer. Or if you eat meat, I do a collagen protein. It's really, really simple to mix in. It's great for your hair, skin, and nails. Really easy. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions on things. And also, like, let's take your father-in-law as an example. That works for him. And that's
It
amazing.
works great for him.
It works.
Right?
Yeah.
And
him and I have been debating, just like
Yeah.
curious about what this whole meat trend is and and he's like now so interested to find
He's
out
into
why.
Beans, a lot of beans.
He
Beans
loves-
are, I think,
he
one of the
loves
healthiest
beans.
foods on
Okay.
this planet Earth. They are
He follows
so,
a couple of nutritionists
Yeah.
who are great.
Yeah.
And he wins.
And that works for him.
And that works for him. Like you said, everybody's different. He listens to his own body. And he went off meat for a while.
Yeah.
But if there's a good bone, he'll suck on the bone. A good
But
steak
I also
bone.
think like
it's all his.
especially women's bodies are more sensitive than men. I will say I work with
Oh, really?
both, but I work with a lot of women, and we have like different hormones. We need more, we're reproductive. Like there's a lot more going on in our bodies in that sense. I've rarely met a woman who thrives on a 100% vegan diet. Now, I believe in plant forward, which means I want the majority, this. Like, yes, the majority of your plate should be coming from vegetables. Like Mark Hyman, who I have mixed thoughts on, talks about like condiment and the idea of like meat should be like a condiment. It's not the star of the show. It's the side piece, right? So like I actually think there's a lot of nutrients in like grass-fed meat and wild caught salmon and a lot of these really healthy animal protein sources. And a lot of us do really well with eating them because they're also satisfying. And when you're satisfied, you're less likely to pick something, right?
So, question,
Mhm.
because what satisfies me, like if I had just a salad, it depends on the salad, but like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll still be hungry. If I put a salad in like a whole wheat wrap, it really helps. Is it better to add chicken to the salad or whole wheat wrap, like carb, to like be that extra fill? Or I guess
I would
each day is
say
a different day.
context, right? But like you probably likely need both. If there's no other like protein source in your salad, like maybe if you're making a salad and you're adding like lentils as like a protein in there, right? And maybe you have some like avocado for your good fat, and then you put it in a whole wheat wrap, which also remember, like again, food has multiple components. The whole wheat wrap's not just carb. You're using an Ezekiel wrap, you're getting protein in there too. Then that's great. But you could also probably add chicken in there and then have that carb in it. What you're describing is, well, you're not, it's all context, right? You're not full off just vegetables. We're not supposed to just eat vegetables. We're supposed to eat majority vegetables with some protein, with some fat, with some carb/fiber. That's that magic sauce. You're not just supposed to have, I think like the salad is a great example of something you probably used to do and be like, I'm
When a
eating,
diet
why am I
was-
not
yes.
full?
Yes.
Right? Why am I starving?
How big of a difference is there between like the organic chicken and normal, or the farmed salmon, or the
Oh, the salmon
wild
thing
salmon?
ruins me.
It's so hard
I know.
because farm tastes a lot better.
So much better. And
Yeah.
if I get wild caught, my apartment smells for so long of
Yeah.
fish. And it's so sad.
So quality does matter in this stuff. I really do believe it. And I believe especially if you can afford to buy like organic meat, like organic chicken and grass-fed beef, like you are what you eats, right? So like research looks at like the fatty acid profile of a cow that just ate grass. And an important distinction, all cows are grass-fed to begin with. You want to look for grass-fed and finished, because that means that they were given grass the entire time, not switched to that synthetic like corn feed to
So if you
fatten them out.
feed 1% grass, you can write grass fed,
Probably.
but and finished means 100% of the way.
You like good quality will usually say and finished.
The hard thing for us, we're kosher, so
They
like
trick us
we're
every
limited.
time.
But your kosher meat tends to be better quality.
I think
anyways,
so too.
for the
I think
most
so
part.
too.
You think
Because
so?
because
No, I think it is because there's more like laws and
Yeah.
stuff around
You
it.
can't have like hormones or
Yeah. And
the
like
additives are limited or
and there's a lot of like
squashed.
marketing terms on a lot of this to understand.
Yeah,
like
that's so hard.
there's so many, we call them like front of box terms that like aren't regulated, like all natural chicken. What does that
Right.
mean? It doesn't
Raw
actually
honey.
mean like
natural honey. They always get me because then I
raw,
saw another
actually,
guy.
you know what? I
And
don't
he
want
said
to say
this honey
something.
is literally 0% honey, and it's all synthetic.
Oh, like
And it says like raw honey, natural honey,
Well,
pure honey.
This is where like you learn to like you can what's the saying, like vote with your dollar. Like find out where you're buying things from, like understand where you're spending your money, right? If it's something you eat all the time, like honey's a great example. I mean, it sounds like you're going through a good amount of honey, right?
He does.
I buy
He does.
so
He
much
does.
honey
Oh my
in
God.
the
I
from
should
the
have brought
farm
you honey.
stand in the Hamptons.
The
It
national
lasts me
bee
for 6 months, and then I go to Aspen, get straight from the beehive another 6 months. I come back with luggages of honey.
Okay. Honey's expensive too. So it sounds like you're getting good honey because you're buying it from like a farm stand kind
It's
of
not
place.
that expensive.
Okay, well, some
It's not that bad.
Okay,
Good
so
honey
going
is-
back to Jonathan's
introduce
day,
you.
because Jonathan has a lot of work to do with
Yes.
you. So I'm not trying to speak for my husband, but
Yes.
I also think he does something where he's like very excited for dinner because we'll go out a good amount. I'll cook a good amount, but we'll also go out. So he's kind of like quote unquote, and I know a lot of people who do this, saving the calories for
Oh.
dinner, and because he wants to indulge. So he's so excited to indulge and enjoy. We love pasta. We love Italian dinners, anything. We love food. And then the dessert, like we love to get the dessert at the end. And so I think
hear a lot of we, but you're throwing me under the table.
I think I get where you're going. but
Yes. So I think a lot of people, first of all, save the calories for dinner.
Let's talk
Also,
about
when
that.
you have like a husband, there is more more substance to dinners than
Yeah.
if you go with the girls.
So
Whoa.
I knew
no,
I-
no.
Sorry, I'm
He's
jumping in
right,
here.
He's right.
Okay,
he's right.
so you're painting the picture. I'm not so sure it's a perfect picture you're painting over here. I'm not saving any calories. Okay. I usually like my light breakfast and a healthy, nutritious, easy lunch. That's just how I roll for the last 5 years. Yes, if we are going to dinner, I get very excited and I'll look forward to it. But I'm not, that's my usual Monday through Friday regimen. I'm not saving calories. I think I also, when we order 7 dishes from the menu, because you want to have a taste of all 7 of these beautiful, amazing dishes, you eat 15 to 25% of each plate, and I'm stuck devouring the rest, which is like 70% of every plate. So yes, we'll go back and I'll be heavier than you by the end of the week.
Okay, so can you please comment?
yeah, let's like challenge a few things that you
Okay,
said.
let's do it.
The save up is the biggest myth in the world.
Even if you're not doing it.
I'm
people
not
do
doing it.
Yeah,
People-
so
people
say
do it.
you're not doing it, but also I am like Elliot. That's my fiance. I love him to death. He is totally the person, doesn't eat breakfast, eats a healthy lunch, could gorge himself at dinner. We go to dinner, we order 7 things. We also love food. Like it's so fun. It's part of the best, like one of the best parts about living in New York City, right? But the saving up never works because like we said earlier, when you get there and you're starving, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. And you're going to eat everything in front of you. You're more likely to eat really quickly. You're more likely to order more than you need. And then you leave not feeling good, right? I always say like 100 calories now, like having a handful of almonds at 4 o'clock when you're hungry, if you're going to dinner at 7 is going to save you like 1,000 calories later on in the day. And I don't even talk in terms of calories, but just to give you like an idea of that, right?
Aren't nuts fattening?
But why is fat bad?
Why? Because then you don't fit in your jeans anymore and you got to go buy a whole new closet.
No, fat doesn't make you fat. Fat makes you full. Fat helps like your hormones.
I will say this one thing. Back in the day when I didn't know nearly enough about nutrition and health, I did Whole30. And I was like, I'm being so perfect because I'm not eating any of the bad things. But I didn't know that nuts had as much calories as they do. So I would sit and eat bags and bags of nuts a day and things that like probably avocado and things that actually had a lot of calories. I was downing to keep myself full.
Mm-hmm.
And I gained so much weight from Whole30. This is when I was young.
You
20s.
gained weight from eating the nuts.
So much.
Well, think about the context here. She didn't necessarily gain weight from eating nuts.
Okay.
She gained weight probably because she felt restricted because there was so much else that she could not eat. So she was like, oh, nuts are allowed in my brain. So she was overeating on the things that felt allowed. And if we look at the root cause of that, it's not like nuts equal weight gain. It's like, oh, Remy felt restricted. Remy overate nuts because they felt safe. And that led to weight gain. So nuts are a calorically dense food, which means like anything with fat. So for context, like proteins and carbs have 4 calories per gram and fats have 9 calories per gram.
Right.
So just foods with fat in it have more calories, energy than foods that don't. Okay. But it's all about context, right? Like it's important to learn like what does a normal kind of typical serving size of nuts look like in my hand, right? Yeah, a small handful. And then if you're still hungry, can you eat something else with it, right? If you don't add fat to your salad, I see this all the time. People who make a salad and there's a ton of veggies in there and they add some protein, but then their dressing is just lemon juice, let's say, or balsamic vinegar, no olive oil. That person is starving an hour later.
What about croutons? Can you add croutons?
Croutons are great, but they're not giving you fat. They're some carb, right? Like a little bit of carb. We're not scared of it.
Croutons are good. I've never said that. So
yeah, but she finished the sentence.
Well, it's all, there's so much nuance with food. And this is where like what you got out of working with me is we got to look at what are you actually doing? What do you actually like? What are the things you are missing? And I think for you, it was a lot of meals that just weren't complete. They didn't have all the players
still
showing up.
probably am not great at that. So.
But I think you were also like, you thought it was quote unquote being good, right? It was like, oh, breakfast, I'll only have, if I'm going to eat breakfast. I remember you being so confused when I was like, no, we're adding like more protein in there, more fat. Like you get satisfied and then you don't need as much. That fills your stomach. It's like produces all these hormones that tell you that you're full. It slows down something called like gastric emptying. So everyone's obsessed with Ozempic right now because like it works on this mechanism where it keeps food in your stomach longer. Fat keeps food in your stomach longer. So
you can do it naturally.
What are your other views on Ozempic?
Oh, I have a whole podcast episode I could send you to listen to that. But
what would be your summary?
I think that we over-abuse a lot of medications. Quick fixes are usually not the answer. That being said, Ozempic is really life-changing for the people that it's meant for. If you have a blood sugar issue and, you know, maybe you've struggled with your weight and diet your whole life, if you take Ozempic and work with a dietitian at the same time and you have success on it, more power to you. Ozempic's not for vanity weight. It's not for, my sister was joking, she's going to kill me, but she had a baby like just over a year ago. And she said to me the other night on the phone, she's like, do you think I could like just take one shot of Ozempic, like lose the last 5 pounds and call it a day? And I was like, don't you think if that worked, everyone would do that? Like it's not meant for that. And I think the way it's now being like prescribed in Hollywood and things, it's being used as that. And I think
it's not just in Hollywood anymore.
Right. That is true. It's more of a skip for me, but I'm not knocking the people that really need it. And it's really changed their lives.
You also said something once, sorry to veer, but you know, the other thing is you're like, okay, this is all about getting full, right? But I think people have this guilt and I definitely fall to it. I also have it with having a baby. Like she won't finish her plate whatsoever. And I'm like, I can't waste the food. I can't waste the food. So like you're talking about like being full. And then Jonathan says, it's like, it is hard. There's this amount of like self-control, quote unquote, of like, don't finish, like of not finishing your plate when you're full.
Yeah.
So like, how do you recommend people?
So I call it like, we all are part of like the clean plate club. Like so used to like, we eat what's prescribed to us, right? That's why TGI Fridays prescribing like these monster portions of pasta is an issue for America, right? We're so conditioned. Like our parents grew up like, clean your plates. You can't have dessert until you eat this. Like all these things teach us that we need, that our plate knows how much we need versus our bodies. I'm sure you know she's little, right? Juliet. Some days she can take one bite of something and be done, not want anything else. Other days she could
6 plates.
She needs like 4 more sandwiches and you're like, there's no food left, right? Because she's born with an internal cue system. Her body needs different amounts on different days. Our bodies are not calculators. We do not have the same metabolic rate day to day. It varies based on like our time of the month, how much we moved the day before, our stress levels. So many things can change how much we actually need. So when we just finish our plate, we're not actually listening to that. So one thing I like to tell people, I wonder if I ever told you this because I feel like you would love it, is that once you're full, Okay. And we're not talking about stuffed. Like once you're like satisfied and good and can go get on with your day for a couple of hours, any more food you eat is technically waste. Because what happens when you eat more than when you're comfortably full? You get tired. And at its core, food is energy, right? So once you're eating past the point of comfortable fullness, that's waste. So whether it's wasted on your plate or in your stomach, it's up to you.
Yes, you did tell me that. And
I agree with that. I told her that. But I think the question was, how do you stop yourself? Because if you don't finish your banana, trust me, I'm not touching it in the morning. But if we go out to Carbone and you don't finish your Caesar salad or you got some extra white pasta there, I'm going to down it.
So I think it's first of all,
that's where I pick my battle.
Let's use you guys as a situation. Say you're at Carbone tonight for dinner. This is like not, you've eaten, first of all, like plenty of good meals in your life, right? This is also not your last chance to eat it. If you want Carbone tomorrow, you have access to get it.
But don't get 10 dishes. Just get what you really need and call it a day.
Wait, I think there's two sides to that. Like, I'm not saying that you can't order all the things. I like Remy too. Like sometimes you're going to a restaurant that maybe you don't go to all the time and you want to try the things, right?
We're stuck.
But know your psychology.
You're not stuck with finishing the plate.
Oh,
That's what she's saying.
So what I would tell you,
you don't have to finish the plate. She's saying leave food on the table. It's fine.
You could take it home.
Yeah.
You can
put 3 tequilas in me and a plate of unfinished pasta.
There's so much.
She's going to teach us how to not finish your plate.
I want you to think about one thing I would say with someone like you is, you know how they give you like the appetizer plates when you're somewhere? So I want you to practice, like, don't just, it's so natural to go to dinner, the two of you, and like share off the plates, right? Take bites. Use the plates they give you as your own personal plate instead.
Make the plate.
Finish plate your plate.
Be done with it.
Well, if you're full. But what it does, the plate is your barrier. Remember I said mindful eating is what we're working on. Mindfulness is all about pause. There's this great quote from someone, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's along the ideas of there's stimulus and response normally, right? And they're touching. You know, you see the pasta, you eat the pasta. What mindfulness does is it like creates space between stimulus and response. So you see the pasta, you think about, do I actually need more? Is more of this going to make this more enjoyable right now? And then you make the decision. It's a skill. It's something you like have to build up doing. One thing I would challenge you to do if you're like an always clean the plate person would be just start intentionally leaving a bite on your plate. It will drive you crazy at first, but then you'll get used to it. You'll get used to I don't always need to clear this. Because the nature of it is like, yes, there are meals where, if I'm in Paris at my favorite restaurant and I'm thinking of Chez Genou, they have this like chocolate mousse that's like my favorite thing in the world. If I'm there, I don't really care if I overeat on the chocolate mousse.
You're like, Paris,
you're doing it.
Oh, they give it to you. I'll send you a video. They give it to you in this big tub and it's unlimited.
Oh my God.
It's fantastic. Okay.
We're going to a great dinner tomorrow. So I'm very excited.
But
have you been to Ralph's downtown?
I have not. Do I need to go?
Let's go.
Okay. I haven't even been.
Okay.
I just have heard from everyone.
My new favorite restaurant in NYC.
So you're saying like it's in context. It's like you're in Paris, finish it. You're at Carbone, that's a few blocks away.
You've got to be smart.
You don't need to.
You got to listen to your body.
But you also have to realize that like there's something called sensory specific satiety, which is a mouthful. But all that it means is that like with each bite, you're getting less and less satisfaction out of the bites. Like they've done a lot of science, like research on this. Think about it like relationships, right? That's what this podcast is a lot of the time. Okay. So in the beginning of a relationship, it's the honeymoon phase. Like, oh my God, can't get enough. Everything's so special. 3 years later, like, yes, I still love you dearly and even probably love you more, but I don't feel like, oh my God, I can't breathe every time you text me or like that same giddiness, right? You get used to something. And that happens, it takes longer in a relationship. But with food, they've studied this and like really each bite is giving you less and less. So if you can almost like take in each bite, like every time you're taking a bite of that chocolate mousse, be like, this is filling up my cup. Like I am so appreciating that. And then also realizing when you've had enough, you do it better.
Skill. But I think the leaving a piece and like getting used to that is such good advice because it gives me anxiety to think about the food on the plate. Like,
of course,
at the end of Juliet's meal, I have my nanny do it. So I'm like, I don't want to see how much she leaves because I'm going to finish it.
I used to be an overeater. Now I only overeat once in a while. Like, last Saturday night we went out to Casa Cipriani. Then we continued out dancing. I came home and I had 10 minutes of food.
God.
It was horrible. I felt horrible in the morning. I usually don't overeat anymore, but I used to do it a lot.
But what if you like that
But
feedback?
Your tips
right?
are great.
And
Your
he
tips
said,
are
he
great.
goes, by the way, in the morning, he says, next time it's late at night, I didn't feel good after last night. Will you tell me not to eat?
Remember that, right?
So you're remembering. Right. So the goal here is you want to feel good. Okay. You want to feel good because when you feel good,
enjoy life.
You can enjoy life. You can feel your best. You can be your best. And we have it wrong that we think like when overeating, like you forget that you don't feel good when you overeat. Like you feel really sick. So
it's fun
the
for
goal,
the 10 minutes and then after that you regret it.
Because we live in this like instant gratification world, right?
Yeah.
We're so used to, and it's this like, this is all a skill. There are things you have to work on, like using your own biofeedback to like recognize, right? You wake up Sunday morning and be like, okay, this didn't feel good. Like maybe it's one less drink next time. Like recognize what your number is, right? Go in with the plan. I am like so guilty of, being at a restaurant and I'm such a lightweight with alcohol, but easily having my second or even like third martini, which for someone of my size with my tolerance, that is like way too much, but you get caught up in the moment and it's enjoyable. And I really work on like challenging and reminding myself, like, I don't have more fun off 3 martinis. I actually just feel worse.
Yes,
the next day. My whole day is gone.
Very true.
I'm canceling that workout class. And so I condition my brain now that like, and look, do I always follow this perfectly? No, but like when I'm going out on like a Friday night, just for like a normal, whatever, not a wedding, not a bigger situation, just like dinner with friends or at a bar or something, I have 2 drinks because I know that's what's
2 drinks max for everything.
What happens if they tell you they're going
me.
to a fun concert after? Does that mean martini number 3 gets introduced to you?
I mean, martini number 3 is really dangerous. Maybe I'd switch to something else.
So
what's something else? Tea at the
probably
club?
like, I don't know,
Honestly,
tequila on the rocks.
can I tell you what I've done?
When you were in your sorority, did you have a lot of 4 martini nights?
We did. I didn't drink martinis at that point. It was like peach burnett's I went to Wisconsin. Like, it was
did you have 5
disgusting.
to 10 sake bombs?
But also, like, I think we can always learn from like different phases in our life, right?
You're very smart. I totally agree. Can I tell you what helps me?
Yes.
I pre-plan my meals
He has a pre-plan.
24 hours in advance quite often.
I like that.
So of course, if we're going to Carbone, I'm not going on the menu and like pre-ordering
Yeah.
meals.
Yes, you are. Yes,
No,
you are.
no, I'm
you
not.
look at the menu before.
No, I'm not.
I think if
But-
you're a foodie,
but
you look at the menu.
If it's like Sunday, I'll think of, like I'll have like banana for breakfast or dates or Greek yogurt. Lunch, I already know I'm getting my veggie wraps from Juice by Julie. Shout out to Juice by Julie. Delicious.
I don't know juice.
Oh.
Kosher, but
It's
really
it's
good.
like a very healthy veggie wrap and a seaweed.
Yeah.
Light and nutritious. And for dinner, I already know. I already know if I'm ordering sushi, matzo soup. So I don't come home and think. And then I order a burger and fries.
Well, that planning is really helpful, right?
Planning.
And that's a lot of what I do with clients too. Think about the majority of my clientele is like busy, can't stress. Our 30-minute session each week is like a time where we get to game plan. Like, okay, what went well last week? What's coming up this week? What do we need to plan for?
Smart.
Right? And it's not like we talked about saving up before. What I usually do when we're planning with someone is I start with, what nights do you have things? Like, okay, you have a bridal shower on Sunday. Like, let's mark that in here and let's think about what we need to do to support yourself around that. That doesn't mean we skip breakfast if the bridal shower is at 1:00, right? It might mean that we eat a really like nourishing, protein-rich breakfast so that we don't show up there starving and then get to be more mindful.
I love it.
I was playing online actually before knowing that you're coming here. And I noticed that I read a stat. 70% of Americans are either overweight or obese. 70%. Are you familiar with this statistic?
Yeah.
So initially I thought, oh, that says an enormous amount. And we can talk about that. But at the same time, I'll be fully transparent. I plugged in my own numbers to see where I stood, assuming that I'm either in the healthy category, the 30%, or tinkering on it. And I was overweight by a lot.
So
by too much.
Okay, a few things here.
It made no sense because if I lost the weight to get to the number where I'd be healthy, that would be 9 pounds. That's less than our wedding day. And I was very skinny on my wedding day. I mean, I'd have to have 0 fat on my body.
So
and be healthy
you plugged
according
in
to
your
the
BMI,
standards.
basically,
I did.
essentially.
I did.
BMI is like an antiquated measure. We don't really use it anymore. And it's actually not really that valid for men specifically, because if you have muscle mass, it's not taking that into account. Michael Jordan's obese, according to like BMI and things like that.
That's
Way
wild.
obese. You're
Yeah,
right.
like
So
terribly.
this statistic is ridiculous. Tell Biden he's calling me overweight.
So-
I'm going to slap him.
Yeah, we honestly don't, good medical providers don't really go off of that anymore because it
makes no
doesn't
sense.
doesn't tell us anything. And also weight is not, and we've talked about this together, like it's not the number one indicator of health whatsoever. We need, like, I want to look at your cholesterol. Like,
Sure.
Let's think about like, how do you feel throughout the day? Are you active? What are your behaviors like? Are you eating nourishing foods? We used to just use weight as this one category. Now our weight is getting heavier and heavier as like a country, and that is systemic, right? That's because of the hormones, the microplastics, our food system. Like there's so many issues, and that's a much larger conversation. But by no means would I be concerned personally for you.
Thank you.
I think
It's
For all you
I
Spotify
love
listeners,
you.
she's looked me up and down and she says, no red flag.
No, Jonathan's really good at this. So if you were to give that last like main piece of advice to people, like this is kind of the one thing to at least start with or just always have in your mind, what would you say is like your main piece of advice to people?
it shouldn't feel hard. It doesn't have to feel hard. I think
And that's
that
such a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around, that it shouldn't feel hard.
yeah, like, so many of us are used to being on and off every diet and like forcing ourselves into things. And that's just working against your body. And if you could learn to work with your body, like what we're talking about with you, with like the enjoying food and like being at Carbone and being like, okay, this does taste delicious, but I'm choosing to stop because I don't want to feel the way I felt last Saturday night. Like I want to feel good to go out and go dancing and good to wake up on Sunday morning with my daughter and all of those things. So it would really be that. If it is what's that saying? If it's a nightmare to maintain, or it's not your dream body, if it's a nightmare to maintain.
Oh, cool.
So when we started this, we had the conversation about like a happy and healthy weight. And a happy and healthy weight is a place you can live where you feel really good about the behaviors you're doing. You feel really confident in the foods you're eating and your exercise routine and how you're managing stress, but you're also living your life, right? You're going to sushi on
Sure.
Thursday with your husband and enjoying it and not stressing over it, right? You're at a restaurant and able to choose something that's going to support you in the moment. You're able to say yes to something on a whim. And you're also able to like be in a situation and be like, I don't really want that right now.
So cool.
It's
So
both ends.
what would you say is maybe that like one piece of advice of where to start that it's not so hard? Is it like add water? Because I know you love
that's
water.
so hard.
Add water.
Is it add breakfast?
We
Is
didn't
it-
get to that.
Oh, we've got a lot to talk
Hydrate.
about. We could
Love.
have 3 hours. of this.
I think like start being curious would be my first piece of advice.
I like that. I like listen to how something feels, because I think you also do meal tracking just to like see how you feel after things.
food and mood journaling.
And if you don't pay attention, this goes for things that I do with my clients. Like if you don't stop and look, you're going to miss it. So to pay attention, I think that's so smart, so cool. We have to do 12 more hours of this. I don't know about you, but I'm obsessed. Anything else you have before she kind of tells everyone where they can find her to learn more?
We focused on nutrition, but what would be your 5 top tips to being healthy, feeling healthy?
That's a really good question. My 5 top tips. All of us could drink more water. Make half of your plate coming from vegetables for the most part. So being more plant forward. Moving more. I work in a sedentary job. I love that I get to counsel people one-on-one, but I think, what is that saying? Like sitting is the new smoking. I think like just finding little ways to build movement in your day. That does not mean you need to go on a 10,000 step walk. It just means like take the stairs, get up in between meetings, stretch out, like feel into your body a little bit more, spend more time in nature. We didn't get to talk about this at all, but like actually being outside does so much for our sleep cycles, for like our stress management, all of these things. So even if you live in New York City, like get outside, like go find a park, like touch a tree, like all of these things do amazing things for your health. Can I give you 6? I'm gonna give you 6.
Please.
Community really matters. The people you surround yourself with make such a difference. We can learn so much from the blue zones, which are those cultures that are living the longest, and they're all surrounded by people they love. And then my 6th bonus tip would be go for enjoyment. Find the things you already enjoy that are nourishing and build on them. If you don't like kale, we don't need to eat a kale salad for lunch. Like go off of what you already like and level it up in that way.
Beautiful.
So cool. Love it. So please tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on Instagram. It's at MPM Nutrition, and my website is mpmnutrition.com. If you are interested in working with us, I do a free 15-minute consult for everyone, so you guys can reach out on there.
Amazing. Thank you. We got to do another one.
Thank
This
you.
is so good. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope you liked it as much as we did. Now go send it to someone who needs to hear it, because we know that dating, relationships, marriage can be tough, but we want to make it less tough. And remember, you're allowed to hate your husband. Whatever you're feeling is allowed. So go send it to a friend, to your sister, your brother, maybe your boyfriend, a husband, whoever needs to hear this, send it to them. And while you're at it, click the follow button, click the review button. Always feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and we are so excited to see you in our next episode.